A hedge is a row of shrubs or bushes that form the boundary line of a garden or a farm or a property. But did you know that there was once a hedge in India that was a tool of taxation and oppression and became a symbol of British colonial rule? Let's find out more about the Great Hedge of India in this episode of Tree Talk. Sometime in 1994, author Roy Moxham stumbled upon a footnote in an old book published in 1893 about a forgotten piece of Indian history. The book was called Rambles and Recollections of an Indian Official by Major General W. H. Sleeman, and in it, Moxham found a reference to something called a customs hedge. Having never heard of it, Moxham then sets off on a quest, and that is the journey he narrates in his book, The Great Hedge of India. So, what is this great hedge, and did Moxham really find it? So, this hedge was created over a customs line established in 1869 by the British and expanded to stretch across India over about 3,700 kilometers. It was guarded by 12,000 British officers at an annual cost of £162,000 based on the exchange rate today. This hedge was made from an impenetrable thicket of thorny native shrubs to prevent smugglers from sneaking in salt from coastal areas to British-controlled states where it was taxed heavily. By about 1870, the Great Hedge stretched from the Himalayan foothills to Odisha and then the Bay of Bengal. The goal was to cut off the salt-producing coastal regions in Gujarat and Odisha from the princely states governed by the British. This ensured that salt remained a precious commodity. Salt was back then taxed so heavily that most Indians could not afford it. Moxham describes the hedge as being built from several indigenous thorny shrubs, some like prickly pear, thorny acacias, the thorny Indian plum or the ber, and the karonda. The hedge was later abandoned when the British took control of salt production in India. And what about the author's quest? Did he finally find the hedge? Well, Roy Moxham travelled to India thrice in the mid-90s to find it. He checked old maps, satellite imagery, spoke to villagers in zones about which he found references in historical records, and after several attempts, he did manage to trace a very small section of prickly shrubs growing along an embankment in Etawah, Uttar Pradesh that might just be a remnant of the Great Hedge. And as Moxham says, when he began, he had thought he was looking for a harmless piece of English eccentricity. But by the time he had finished, he realized that he had unearthed a monstrosity, which was instead a terrible instrument of British oppression. And this little episode, based on my reading of his book, was the story of how a set of plants became a tool of that colonial oppression. If you found the story interesting and would like to learn more about how an Indian tree changed world history by making a major contribution to the British Empire, do check out this episode.